Hello, lovelies. Welcome to today's lesson. Before we start today's lesson, please get your equipment ready while I wait. Okay, please write the date, underline it. Alright, the learning objective. Today's learning objective is to understand what is meant by active transport and explain how it is different to diffusion. Okay, please make sure you've underlined the learning objective, please. Okay, thank you. Please answer the retrieval task questions. We have 3 minutes to complete the questions. Once you finish, you unpause the video so we can go through the answers together. So please pause the video now. Thank you. Okay, please get your green pen ready so that we can mark the answers. Okay, question 1. What are the functions of the following? Nucleus. So the nucleus controls the activities of the cell. Cell membrane. The cell membrane controls movement of substance into and out of the cell. Mitochondria. Mitochondria is the site of respiration to release energy for the cells. Chloroplast. Chloroplast contains chlorophyll to absorb light energy for photosynthesis. The cell wall. The cell wall strengthens and supports the cell. Question 2. What is diffusion? So diffusion is the net movement of particles from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration down a concentration gradient. This is a passive process, meaning no energy is required. What is osmosis? So osmosis is the overall movement of water from an area of high water concentration to an area of low water concentration through a partially permeable membrane down a concentration gradient. So please score yourself. How did you do? Wow, amazing. Well done. Okay, at the end of this lesson, we should be able to define the term active transport. Describe the similarities and differences in active transport and osmosis. We'll be able also to explain how active transport works in both plants and animals, and to evaluate why plant and animal cells behave differently. And the keywords for today, we have concentration, gradient, and energy. Okay, starter. Which is the steepest gradient? So out of these 3, which is the steepest? Question 2. What is a concentration gradient? Amazing. Okay, so the steepest is the 30% triangle. Excellent. Well done. So what is a concentration gradient? So the difference in the concentration of a solution between 2 areas is called the concentration gradient. The bigger the difference, the steeper the concentration gradient. Okay, let's look at the next. So here we have moving down the concentration gradient. You can see the steep, you can see the slope. Okay, so the concentration here of the particle is higher compared to what we have here. So because the concentration here is different from the concentration here, there is a concentration gradient. Now, which way will the particles move? Of course, the particles will move from this area that's got higher concentration of the particle to this area that has lower concentration of the particle. And because it's moving from higher to lower, we say it's what? Down the concentration gradient. So it's down the concentration gradient. Okay. Now, sometimes substance may have to move against a concentration gradient or moving up a concentration gradient. So for instance, again, we have higher concentration of this particle here and lower concentration. If this concentration of these particles will move from this area that's got low concentration to this area that has high concentration, energy is required. Because imagine you are coming down from your stairs. You can easily roll down compared to if you're climbing up. If you're climbing up, you require energy to climb up. So for these particles to move from this area of low concentration to this area of high concentration, energy is required. And that's what active transport is all about. So active transport requires energy. Active transport requires energy. So active transport is the movement of particles against a concentration gradient from an area of low concentration to an area of high concentration using energy from respiration. Okay, please write the definition of active transport in your books using the following keywords. We have energy, concentration gradient, and particles. If you need support, please, you can use your internet to help you. And we have challenge question here as well. Can you think of anywhere in the body or plant active transport will take place? So that's a challenge question. So I'll give us 2 minutes to answer this question. Please pause the video now. Okay, from your definition, you should have that active transport is the movement of particles against a concentration gradient from an area of low concentration to an area of high concentration using energy from respiration. Okay, excellent, amazing, amazing. Well done, you. Now, osmosis and diffusion are different from active transport. Osmosis is the movement of water particles, while diffusion is the movement of liquid and gas particles. Both of them, osmosis and diffusion, are both passive processes. That's because they do not require energy to occur. But active transport is an active process because it requires energy. Okay. Other than water, what do plants need from the soil? Excellent. So plants require nutrients from the soil. Amazing. So think back from the beginning of this lesson. How might this be an issue for plants trying to get the nutrients? Because we've said osmosis is the movement of water particles from an area of higher water concentration to an area of lower water concentration through a semipermeable membrane. So normally water will move from the soil, pass through the cell membrane of the roots into the plant. So how about nutrients? Yeah, amazing. So the nutrient will have to go into the plant by active transport using energy. Excellent. Okay. So normally, if I'm to use plant, for instance, to explain active transport, when you look at this, you find out that you have higher concentration of nutrients in the plant compared to the soil. So for these particles or for this nutrient to move into the root hair cell that's got higher concentration of the nutrients, the plant can only do that by what? Active transport using energy. So imagine, let me a scenario whereby you have so much money and you're trying to get money from some other person that have got little. So for you to get that money from the person, you can only forcefully get it using energy. So it's the same thing. So for this plant to get the nutrient from this soil, they will require energy to take it in because the soil has got lower concentration of the nutrients or ions compared to the root hair. And the nutrient will pass through the cell membrane of the root hair to get into the plant. And it will require energy that is released during respiration in the mitochondria of the cell. Okay, excellent. Another example of active transport is in marine animals. So usually marine animals have salt glands, and these salt glands pushes out salts from the organism by active transport. If not, so much water would diffuse into the organism by osmosis. Thinking about it, the environment have got more salt compared to the organism. So the normal thing you would expect is that all the salt will go into the organism. But then, to keep them healthy, the organisms or animals have got salt glands. And these salt glands push out the salt by active transport. So that's another example of active transport. Okay, in humans, also, active transport also occur in the intestine. Normally, after digestion, the end product, which the smaller molecules, example glucose, will diffuse into the bloodstream. Now, after a while, the bloodstream will have more glucose compared to the small intestine. So for this remaining particle in the small intestine to diffuse into the bloodstream, the body will have to do that by active transport. So you have some carrier proteins that will help to carry the remaining food into the bloodstream. So these carrier proteins will help to diffuse the remaining part of the particle into the cell that's got more particles now. And that's because of the concentration gradient that is created. Okay, excellent. So, in summary, active transport requires energy, and active transport is against a concentration gradient. So the particles move against a concentration gradient from low to high concentration, and energy is required. This energy comes from respiration in the cell. So transport proteins or carrier proteins use the energy to move the nutrients into and out of the cell. Just in summary. Okay, to check our knowledge, can you please answer these questions? To complete this table, you have 3 minutes to complete the table. At the end of the 3 minutes, unpause the video to go through the answers. Thank you.